This is not an ordinary residential house in Kajiado County, but a rescue center to offer a safe place for victims of gender-based violence. In this shelter, we meet June, not her real name, who is 15 years old. A few minutes after taking a seat on the veranda at the safe house, the dazzled brightness from her face dims. At this age, it is a common expectation that a child is still under the guidance and protection of family, friends, and the community at large. Often at the age of 11, she was left in the care of her aging grandmother.
Nilikuwa nasoma but shosho akashindwa kulipa karo, kanambia nikae home nisaidie kazi ya kuchota maji.
And since her grandmother could not adequately take care of her and 3 siblings, she sent her to Nairobi in October 2023 to work for a relative.
Ndo akaniambia niende Nairobi kufanya kazi nikisaidia masista zangu kusoma.
She landed in Kangemi. Her starting salary was 5,000 shillings.
Auntie alikuwa nifanya kama house girl, nilikuwa nafanya kazi ya kulea watoto, kuosha nyumba, kuosha manguo.
June says her aunt abused her physically and verbally.
Kwa watoto wawili, nilikuwa napika chakula yake na bwanake, mimi ananiachia yangu hapo napika. Nilikuwa naamka asubuhi natayarisha watoto chakula na tayarisha mwingine kwenda shule. Mtoto wake kwa anakula mkate, mimi alikuwa ananiachia 10 bob naenda kubai mandazi but mimi sikuwa nataka. Akaniambia wewe ni orphan. Akaniambia haizi ishi na mtu mwenye ana baba na mama. Kwa sikia tu kulia, kila saa machozi tunalia. Akinituma kwa duka akiniita mpaka anitusi. Nilikuwa naosha DC kwanga bwanake na muosha hadi miguu.
She was often cheated out of her wages and found herself isolated from the outside world.
But mimi nikamwambia mimi sitaki kazi, nataka kwenda shule na hataki. Auntie yangu nikamuuliza pesa zinanifanyia kazi ziko wapi. Kaniambia natumia shosh kusomesha hao siblings wangu.
After 3 months of enduring the torture and oppression from her aunt, she got fed up.
Kunitesa sasa mimi nikakuwa root kwake. Alinijapanga na cooking sick, nikafura, nikavunjikanga mguu nikedanga. Mimi mwenyewe nikajipeleka kwa police station, kaenda kumsema. Shosho wake kanileta kwa shelter.
June has lived at the shelter since February this year. The rescue center represents safety and a hope for a better tomorrow.
Sasa ndo nakaa mimi naona ni kuzuri, pia wamenisaidia na venye walinipeleka shule nikafurahi.
Her story is not different from that of 13-year-old Naomi, not her real name. She was brought to the shelter in June 2023. Naomi has been living a life of misery despite the happy front she presents.
She was referred to us by the children's officer from Kamkunji. She was abandoned by her mother when she was 2 years old, and her maternal grandmother took her in. And last year, her maternal grandmother was not able to take care of her. So a male relative took her and brought her to Nairobi and promised to take her to school. However, because of economic challenges, his business collapsed. He was not able to take care of her. And so she was forced to go and seek for casual jobs, cleaning houses for the neighbors, cooking, and other domestic work. Community health worker came across her when she was just roaming around and rescued her. So she came to our shelter. She received some medical support and counseling.
She had a rough childhood, but now she's picking up the pieces.
She has also been taken back to school, and she's a very bright girl, and she has been performing well. So we are going to continue offering her the counseling support and also following her case in court. And we are hopeful that she's going to recover and bounce back.
These 2 cases are a tip of the iceberg. Many other survivors at Talia Agla Girls Shelter have harrowing tales to tell. The shelter was started in 2012 as a response to the distressing cries of girls and women in need of urgent rescue. It is at this sanctuary for healing, a home full of love, that June and Naomi will rise from and hopefully live a full life. Currently, the rescue center is hosting 62 girls.
who are survivors of sexual gender-based violence, human trafficking, forced migration, and child labor. And out of those 62 survivors, 17 of them are survivors of child labor. So we normally work with partners like non-governmental organizations, we work with the police, we work with children's offices to rescue these girls, and then they are brought to the shelter.
The center offers the girls food, shelter and education. They are also taken through counseling and mentorship. While some get reintegrated with their families after a short period, others stay at the center until they are through with their studies, get jobs and are able to sustain themselves. Apart from giving the girls a roof over their heads, the shelter seeks justice on their behalf, teaches them on how to remain consistent when testifying in court.
Through our legal aid support, we are able to follow up these cases from the point where they are reported to the police station. And so we follow up the cases until the cases are concluded. In some cases, the ones who have given out these girls to work as domestic workers are relatives or parents, and these girls are very protective of their family, understandably where they come from, and so they do not want to see them being arrested. And so sometimes those cases can be very challenging, especially when the survivors will not cooperate in the cases. Sometimes the cases have actually had to be, thrown out of court.
Since its inception, the shelter has rescued more than 18,000 girls and young women aged between 10 and 25.
At the moment, we have a girl who is going to join a university later this year to pursue a degree in law. And she's doing well now, and we are hopeful. And we have seen so many girls bounce back, reclaim their lives. We also have girls who are now advocates, survivor voices advocates, and who are able to actually tell their stories, encourage other girls.
My name is Anne Moreidi, and I'm 20 years old. I'm from Embu, and when I was 7 years old, I was left with my father. He was not financially stable, so I had to drop out of school. That's when I started doing odd jobs. I could fetch water for people, I could wash their clothes, and I could wash their houses. I used to go in nightclubs whereby I could go in the morning and wash the floors and also fetch the water. By that time, one jerrycan was 10 shillings, and if it was clothes, I could get to 100 shillings. And if it was washing the floors, I could get 50 shillings. We are 3 sisters and 1 brother. So the little money which I was getting is the one which I could use so that we can get the basic needs. But sometimes even it was not enough, so I had to borrow some neighbors also. But sometimes we could just stay like that. Because I was young at that time, they could overwork me, so that because they knew I could not do anything. And sometimes I could wash, and then they refused to pay me. My worst experience is when I was fetching water and my hand got a fracture. And that's when now I started complications. I was taken to hospital and I was told not to carry water using my shoulder. In 2019, I had to undergo a surgery. I did the domestic work for 6 years, and that's when I came in Nairobi 2018 to search for housework. And when I reached in Nairobi, I met a guy who told me that he could provide for me work. So when it reached at night, he took me to a hotel where he paid for a room. But I could not sleep there. I went and talked to a man who was sitting there, and I explained to him that I'm new here and I wanted help. That's when now he called two women and they take me at their house. Then the following day, they would take me to the children's officer. She took me in her children's home where it's a shelter. It's called Stalia Hagla Girls Shelter. I had lost hope completely. So, but when now I was rescued, I saw my future was bright. I was given counseling, and that's where now I was able to heal. I was taken back to school from Form 1 to Form 4, and I finished my O-levels in 2022, and now I'm at Nyahururu Medical Training College, whereby I'm taking a course at a diploma level, it's perioperative theatre technology. Afterwards, I can do another course which is higher, which I will be able to have more knowledge and have more experience because I have passion in medicine. The reason why I'm sharing my story is that I want to encourage the young girls that there is a bright future for them, and there is a way for everyone.
My name is Winnie Nelima. I'm 20 years old. I'm a mother of one, a baby boy. He's 2 years old right now. I grew up in Nairobi. We grew up with our mom since they separated with our dad while young. I started schooling early, so I finished my O-level while I was 16 years old. My mom passed, so we had no one else to turn to. In 2020, I had to join domestic work while I was still a kid because I had to support my sisters. So I started working at Ngara. I was being paid only 5,000 Kenya shillings, working from Monday to Monday, no off day. I used to wake up at 4, prepare the baby to go to school, then come back in the house, do all the house chores, prepare dinner at night, wash clothes. It was sometimes hard for me because I was still young and I needed someone who can be there to understand me, but there was no one. When you are insulted, you don't have anyone to go and tell how you're feeling. The stress, these school kids, let me call them that, they don't like eating a lot, but their mom normally force these domestic workers to give their babies a lot of food. Now when their food is given to them, then there is leftovers. They tell you that is a wastage and you have to pay for that wastage. I got another job in South Sea. This lady in the house told me that you can have your off on Saturday evening, you can be going to see your sister. So in February, I decided that I'll go visit my sister. Reaching this stage, I told these boda raiders, that I want you guys to take me to this place. And the boda raider was wearing a helmet. So since it was late at night, the guy took advantage of me. And then he left me there. So I had to call my sister. And my sister came, took me to the house. I took a shower. Then after that, I slept. Because we didn't have any money to go report. You are going to report, you don't know the person, you don't have money. So months passed and I noticed that I am pregnant. I can't tell my sister, I can't tell the person I'm working for. I'm just there so much depressed. I tried killing myself several times, but through all those attempts, nothing was successful. So I sat down and I was like, I'm working. The due time is nearing and no one knows that I'm pregnant. It was super hard for me, so I had to lie to that lady and tell her that, okay, I'm going to school. So I went to Nairobi, not knowing anywhere to go, not knowing a place to stay, not knowing anyone I can turn to. And I was like, let me go to bus station. Where I went there, I found this guardian angel, this woman. I wasn't in a good shape. So the woman noticed and she impressed me, took me in. Me waking up, I just find myself at Kenyatta Hospital, so I passed out. In day 3, the social worker came to me and I told her everything that I was going through, and I was taken to another safe house for me to deliver my baby. In the shelter, I got the love that I was yearning to. The motherly love, the sisterly love, that family love. I wasn't ready for that baby. Like, in my mind, it was what I used to see is a mistake, not a baby. I did my counseling session until I accepted my baby. Right now, East Africa Institute of Home Care Management, taking hospitality. In the near future, I want to be a manager of my own hotel. The scars will always be there, but they will never define whom you are. I've been trained to be an advocate, a survivor advocate who can stand there to support voiceless people who are out there. I don't care how the world will take my story. I don't care at which angle they'll see it. I don't care how they'll think about me. I don't care how my friends will see me. I'm sharing my story to encourage those other people who have gone through the same situation.
I grew up in Mukuru, Kayaba. Nothing gives me joy such as sharing my story, because it's through my story that lives have been changed. And it was also through me hearing another person's story that my life was changed. My name is Yvonne Akinye, and I happened to lose my parents at a very early age. And after clearing my high school, I wanted to continue with my studies, but it seemed to have been a challenge because of finances. And at that moment, what came into my mind was doing domestic work, so that at least I could raise something to cater for my school fees. So I started doing domestic work at the age of 16 years. My salary was 5,000 a month. My then employer had a tendency that wherever it's about 20th or 25th, they could claim that there is a day I cooked a food and it had a lot of salt. Sometimes I'd broken some glasses. So towards when it's payday, the salary would be deducted. So at times I would even end up with 3,000 Kenyan shillings. But since I had no choice, I had to persevere. I worked there for a minimum of 1.5 years. I experienced a lot of abuse. I worked as a domestic worker for 3 years, but by the end of 3 years, I'd only saved around 5,000, which could not clearly cater for my tuition fee. I happened to come across a church which paid for my certificate, and I did certificate in social work and community development. Monday to Friday, I used to go to school. Then Saturday, weekends, that is on Saturday and Sunday, I had a client that I was doing for them, the domestic work.
Folding or hanging? Yes.
I was informed by my classmates that there is a seminar for women, and in Mukuru, I attended the seminar, and that was a game changer. It was in that seminar that I realized even domestic workers have their rights, and it was in that seminar that I realized that domestic workers have minimum wage. We were trained about laundry work, housekeeping, child care, and they saw the potential in me. And can I say that I was promoted from just a regular participant to a hub leader? So I was in charge of mobilizing domestic workers to attend forums, to attend trainings. So I did that for 2 years.
When it happened,
an opportunity came from the organization where they wanted a field officer under the domestic workers transformation pillar. And since I had a certificate in social work and community development, I sent in my CVs, and I was shortlisted for interview, and here I am today. I work at Center for Domestic Training and Development as a project officer under the domestic workers transformation pillar. I'm very passionate about domestic work because actually most of people see domestic work as the last option, but we are working towards ending the narrative that demeans domestic work, because actually domestic work is a profession just like other professions. I saw the need of upgrading myself. Right now I'm pursuing a diploma in social work and community development. I'm going to degree, and I just want to be all-rounded in this field.
Most domestic workers in Kenya begin employment before they're adults due to poor implementation of laws exposing children to exploitation. Domestic work involving children is considered among the worst forms of child labor. Preliminary findings from a study by Freedom Fund reveal that 55.7% of child domestic workers surveyed were 15 and 18 years old, and nearly half were aged between 11 and 17. The majority, accounting for 72.5% surveyed, were female, and 58.3% had already been a child domestic worker for more than 5 years. The vast majority of child domestic workers are girls who are directly sent from their villages to urban areas, completely alien to them by poverty-stricken parents who perhaps leap at the opportunity of turning an economic burden to a source of income.
There is a phenomenon where children are migrating within the country, but also outside the country, and in search of work. So out of being wooed to earn a better living, some of them run away from their homes. Others are actually trafficked by, traffickers who tell them all sorts of lies, but they end up either in domestic work.
Some of these girls have been sent to work in this household by their relatives. So they have no way out. They have no one to actually defend them. They have no one to follow up on their welfare.
Existing data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that there are 1.3 million children involved in child labor in Kenya. Children affairs specialists are concerned this number could be conservative, meaning millions of children are suffering silently.
The numbers of generally child labor are increasing, and the report found that the age group is actually even getting younger. 5 to 15-year-olds are getting in all forms of child labor. Worst of all, domestic work, which is hidden. And often children, they work long hours in these households. They are abused many times sexually, but also abused in other forms. They are the ones who eat late, who eat last, who sleep last, but wake up early, when their fellow children in the same household are going to school. That's a complete unacceptable.
People take advantage of the fact that they're not able to speak for themselves. Some of them are not allowed to leave these houses, and they work there, and so they're abused. Some of them go without food. Some of them actually stay for long periods of time in the houses without being allowed to go out.
Despite the Employment Act 2007 stating the children and domestic workers' basic rights and fundamental freedoms, it is poorly implemented, and too many children domestic workers remain exploited.
We have a huge sentiment to fight and end child labor. One of the target goals the United Nations community has agreed to, which is also ascribed to by all nations, is to have ended child labor, and especially in its worst forms, by 2025. Are we going to make it?
I also want to call upon those Kenyans who employ children that we are going to be very firm about it. Indeed, we've already established children labor committees. We already have 4, but we are going to ensure all the counties have their labor committees operational so that they can be a little bit hawk-eyed to ensure children are not employed as domestic workers.
To reverse the upward trend in child labor, there is therefore the need for concerted effort by all stakeholders, including the government, to implement appropriate measures capable of combating child domestic work, enforcement of existing laws and policies, and investment in child protection. Rose Wangui, NTV.